Late-breaking news, and reporting from Richmond, at this hour, the candidates who have qualified for the November ballot in the race for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th Congressional District, the most reliable Democrat Party congressional district, remain undecided, and both local and state election officials, at least for now, are electing a right to remain silent regarding the delay. Luxury automobile dealership mogul, Donald Sternoff Beyer, Jr., is practically a household name in the affluent Virginia suburbs of Washington, and has been the elected representative for the Kingmaker Congressional District, which includes the city of Alexandria, the hometown for Virginia Senator Mark Warner, the wealthiest member of the Senate, as well as the county of Arlington, by far the most educated, by credentials municipality in the Commonwealth, and home of the most government. Scientist, however, boasting the most federal government employees, civilian and military, VA8 also includes a part of Fairfax County, and the city of Falls Church. And, capturing over 70% of the vote since he had replaced former Congressman James, the Intimidator, Moran, in 2014, most analysts have claimed that bookies probably wouldn't even lay odds on the chance of Republicans picking up the 8th Congressional District seat. It seems so out of reach. So, what is the hold-up on the announcement about the candidates who have qualified for the November ballot in this down-ticket race during this presidential election year? In December, the 73-year-old legislator had announced proudly and boldly that he would be seeking re-election in 2024 to a sixth term as representative for Virginia's 8th Congressional District, and, to date, has raised and disbursed over $1.5 million, with the battle cry message of most appeal to voters in this D+26 Congressional District, promising that he will do all he can in 2024 to prevent would-be dictator Donald Trump from getting anywhere near the White House. And, at least that was before an action had been filed in Alexandria Circuit Court to compel the convening of a grand jury investigation into serious allegations implicating the senior legislator in a bribe offered during the 2016 election, when Congressman Beyer had quixotically even told the Washington Post, "Conventional wisdom says this is a Democratic seat, but conventional wisdom is often wrong, so I'm taking nothing for granted." That matter was quickly quashed quietly in the Alexandria Circuit Court, but now remains on appeal at the state Supreme Court, and the Alexandria prosecutor, Brian L. Porter, at least for now, is also electing a dubious right to remain silent, especially after his claim, explaining his understanding of his prosecutorial discretion, arguendo, when accepting that probable cause exists. No court can order the Commonwealth attorney to charge anyone, and he decision to charge is a discretionary duty that lies entirely within the province of the public prosecutor. Now, that claim is before the state Supreme Court, and Commonwealth's Attorney Porter has, thus far, been reluctant to follow up with a legal brief to explain that, in the form of a legal argument. However, at least since April, when the deadline had told for qualifying for the June primary elections, only one Republican had apparently been successful at soliciting the minimum 1,000 qualifying signatures from registered voters in a congressional district where, at least for Republicans, those seeking to run are make-a-statement candidates, playing to a small far-right base in that district, while the real race for Congress in this district is always the Democratic nomination, the outcome of which is tantamount to election in November. The unofficially qualified Republican for the ballot is Jerry Torres, who had run for Congress in Florida's 14th Congressional District unsuccessfully in the midterm elections held in 2022, but suddenly reported an expenditure of over $25,000, disbursed to a Florida vendor to employ solicitors, being paid up to $30 per hour, to obtain at least 1,000 signatures for him to qualify for the November ballot. However, as of today, the question before the state courts in Richmond is whether that should be a reasonable expectation for anyone seeking to provide the democratic choices for voters in this most progressive congressional district, where voters are pro-choice on abortion and overwhelmingly endorse ranked choice voting, which had recently been passed by the state legislature. Reviving a successful argument from the 2020 elections when Omari Faulkner, a Republican seeking to qualify for the primary, had convinced the courts to permit a pandemic exception, Major Mike Webb is making the argument to the State Board of Elections that the same reasonable accommodation should be extended to those representing an alternative view and seeking to qualify for the ballot in an as-applied challenge to the statute in a motion filed this morning at the Richmond Circuit Court. And, apparently the work of just one litigation hobbyist, imposing an onerous burden upon the courts, is the reason for the current delays on identifying those candidates who have qualified for the November ballot for U.S. Congress in VA8. Stay tuned for more late-breaking election news as we continue to follow up on this developing story.
This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest. This has been a Filmways presentation, darling.
And y'all come back now. Yeah.